You're watching HCAM TV.
Hello, this is Cheryl Perreault, and we are here Friday night, 7 to 8 at Friday Night Wake Up Call. And tonight's program was intended to be the last program for Wake Up and Smell the Poetry for season 14, actually taking place tomorrow at the studio. But as we have had change of local and world circumstances with this pandemic, we are coming live instead tonight from all our living rooms or homes where we are sheltering in place, thanks to HCAM TV Studios. And I am really thrilled that the original guest features for tonight's program, being Michael Brown, Valerie, LAWSON, and Aaron Waldman, all agreed to come and show up for tonight's program. My idea in this being the last program, inviting Valerie and Michael, who have been a very important part of the poetry scene in Boston and beyond, affecting the world for a few decades, and their important role in poetry, both on the page and stage. I'm so glad they could be here. And also Aaron Waldman, who is a singer-songwriter, just getting out as a solo performer in the past 2 years. So that kind of circle of time and getting started and digging into the years of performing our art, putting that all together in a circle was important to me. Oh, and I wanted to therefore raise my glass. I have a glass of sparkling cider to this being the end of the season for Wake Up and Smell the Poetry. And I just want to say a thank you to all of those who've been here, like our features tonight, all our open mic contributors through the years, all of our crew at HCAM TV, with Jim inviting the program to come 14 years ago, and all the other crew, and Dan Tappan, who comes in to volunteer for sound, and the guests who come as audience. Made it all an amazing program, and I'm grateful for every single event that happened there, and grateful for the whole experience, and grateful to get going tonight for our program with Michael and Valerie. So here they are, right with me, although they're in Maine, while I'm in Massachusetts, in Down East area. Hello, Valerie and Michael. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
Just briefly, I will introduce to you that with Michael, who is widely known and respected for his poetry. He has 5 books of poetry. He has taught and lectured poetry around the world in different places, and he has been a part of starting the poetry slam scene in the late 80s at the Cantab Weekly series and the Dr. Brown's Traveling Poetry Circus. He now lives in Maine with Valerie, and they are publishers for New Press, Resolute Bear Press. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's right.
Sounds very exciting. And then Valerie LAWSON has had her poetry published in a number of journals. She's been nominated 3 times for a Pushcart Prize. She has organized a number of poetry groups in Massachusetts and workshops, and co-hosted the Boston Poetry Slam scene, and emceed other poetry slam events in Sweden and youth poetry slams. And she has been co-editor of Off the Coast Journal with Michael, and currently, as I mentioned, is editor and publisher of Resolute Bear Press, and their first publication, 3 Nations as Anthology, Native, Canadian, and New England Writers, is available now.
Yes.
And won the Maine Literary Award for an anthology in 2018. So the idea of this feature now is that I've invited Valerie and Michael together in their home to share some of their poetry together for the remaining time, about 25 minutes, and I will try to step back and listen as audience. Um, and let both of you take over, share your poems, perhaps anecdotes or observations that will go along with them as well. A little more of an intimate performance space and sharing.
Great.
So welcome. How are you doing? How is it going? Taking shelter up where you are.
Well, we're in the best place in the world to be in shelter. We're off in the woods on 40 acres of land, and you know, it's easy to do social distancing here.
Yes, I imagine so.
Yeah.
And does it give you time to be creative in these past 2 months? Or
So oddly enough, my job, I didn't lose hours. My job sort of jumped up in hours because my skills are in demand right at the moment. So
yeah.
so I'm sort of cramming work in a little extra right now, but that's okay. I'm very grateful that I'm able to do that. So
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's wonderful that you could make some time and be with us to share your poetry. So I will step back with that now and invite you to share your poems with us this evening.
Thank you. So I'm going to start, and then Michael's going to take over and do some stuff. And I'm going to start with a poem that was written during the SARS epidemic back in the early 2000s. And I was working at the pediatric clinic at Brockton Hospital at the time. And there was a shortage of vaccine at the time, as you can imagine. So this is for that. It's called influenza. Your child cannot have the vaccine locked in the refrigerator. We're saving it for someone else. Primitive organisms lock on as if a missing piece found home. Take a few days off, drink plenty of fluids, invest in OTCs and oil. Don a mask, swear off iron lungs and swimming holes, the gift of a blanket. Apply life-threatening to warehouse stock, 40 to 80 per vial, punch a hole in a truck tire, lose the paperwork, wait a day, check your pulse, shake hands in the dark. Pharmaceuticals combat hosts of illnesses. The advertising budget for Viagra will make you blush. Remember to wash your hands. Avoid touching your face and other objects like doorknobs and handles. Stay away from clouds. Count your vote. Balance a wheel. Eat pyramids and large doses of vitamin C, but don't borrow sugar from the neighbors. Ignore troughs in favor of peaks. Ask your doctor or pharmacist. Listen for echo rhymes. Adjust your mask. Say your prayers. And kiss your children goodnight. This is a really Maine poem. I had the great pleasure of helping to build a birch bark canoe with David Moses Bridges, who's just an extraordinary heritage native artist up here. He has now passed, sadly, but what an amazing experience. And this is for David, and it's called Birch Bark Spruce Root. If you don't find what you need, dig deeper. Prise the bark open, unearth the roots, let them coil in ribbons at your feet. Handle the knife carefully, test the steel, tease the layers apart, follow the grain, cut the heartwood out, the scent seeps into your fingers. Breathing new life into bark is risky. It has spirit, demands respect. Join the seams with spruce root. If it breaks in the middle, begin again. Elastic when wet, bound like iron when dry, the leather sound squeaks speak of boundaries. Bear fat and pine pitch seals signature fiddleheads celebrate craft. We don't master this. It suffers our crude hands. Birch tree will grow another coat, spruce send out new roots, the canoe will glide on the bay wearing the eyes of the forest, and we understand the death in life and life in death of this art. And I'm really going country this reading because we're just so homebound right now. So it's, we have been taking the dams down up here and letting some of the fish come through, but then there was a fight over the game fish versus the native fish. So this is dedicated to that. It's called the Alewife Project, And it begins with an epigraph from Richard Brautigan that says, if there's nothing there, how can anything go wrong? My hands drip vole, salamander, lynx, barred owl, alewife, a river of living things. Taxonomy long since settled, here I am. My tiny cook stove, its bottle of propane, a convertible pot with a removable handle. Artichoke reigns as the king of vegetables, or asparagus reigns as king of vegetables. The strong-jawed lion with his ridiculous hair is king of the jungle. This is more responsibility than I imagined. My jungle is a heartbeat in the ocean. I live in a forest where trees grow upside down. The forest was once a jungle under a mile of ice. The river is a fish my net passes through. Trout fishing in America and bass masters. One of these things is true. We took down the dam, but still won't let the fish pass. Sometimes I eat fish cooked on my little camp stove, cut off their heads, slit the belly and remove the guts, remove the tail and fins, fillet. Creel only sounds like a contraction. Net means something else. Everything means something else. I'll take the lesser creatures, what's left. Urchin, homunculus, we move and pray. With the dam gone, it's easier to let them through. I dreamed a river of animals and my island a house. I rode a flotilla of fish to get there. My little cook stove is not up to the task, but eventually I will eat all of them. And where am I going to go next? I'm gonna do that one next.
Yes, muttering.
Oh, sorry. Christina's World. I mean, that's about as main as you can get. The Andrew Wyeth painting. I decided to take a different look at it and went in kind of a different direction, as we should with ekphrastic work. You know, look at it with a new eye. And I borrowed a quote from Wyeth speaking about Christina, and he said, "Of course, she's an old cripple, for Pete's sake." He saw her scuttle crabwise across the field beyond the lawn. Thin arms prop and propel a bundle of sticks dragging a kit bag on an exposed hillside. But for the pink dress, the hip curve, the compass needle of unruly hair pointing to the cove beyond the elliptical runway of the rutted road. She wore down hard New England acres with her passage from spinster farmhouse to bachelor barn. It took an awareness to lift her from the grass, to see her for what she was. Here in Maine, tides swap land and sea. Abu Damkin and Selkie appear in hidden pockets along its craggy coastline. Once he found one, he saw them everywhere. To find them, you must first look away. He learned this from his father, would pass it on to his son. In the patient tempera hours, models let down their guard. He did everything he could to keep them from singing as he painted. The scuba girl, his wife on that blueberry afternoon before the storm, the sentinel dog a distraction. How could one intrude and belong? He keeps their secrets, reveals just enough to satisfy as they emerge. I'm not going to read that one.
But don't mutter.
Let's see. All right, good. All right. Do this one first.
These poems, would you say, are more recent? That
Yeah.
Reading after the Brockton first one.
Yeah. Yep.
More by the land you live on now.
Yeah. You know, even when I was living in Massachusetts, I came from sort of a rural corner of Taunton, the north end of Taunton. So to me, being rural and writing about rural stuff and wood stuff, you know, that comes kind of naturally. So I'm just going to do a couple more and then I'll turn it over to Michael. This poem was for a friend of mine who passed away. She used to do a radio program up here in Maine, and she would invite writers in once a month, Nancy Tancredi. And she also would invite writers to her home, and we would have writers' retreats. She lived right on the water. It was really lovely. And then one day this happened. This is The Fox. Crows gossip and fuss. ravens deep brrr and click a counterpoint. The widow seagull glides to the barn roof, watches us, left eye, right eye, side eye, shade, swiveling her head, chuckling in response. Often an eagle crashes the party, but not this morning. The red fox materializes out of the lupins, a creation myth in sassy coat and thigh-high black boots. The fox watches us, watching her. The crows scold, the gull fidgets, and the fox vogues the mown runway in the wildflower meadow before vanishing, tail last, a final arabesque.
One more.
One more. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so, and this is a main love poem, because you got to do one of them. And Michael and I adopt huskies, retired sled dogs. So a couple of them tangled one evening with a porcupine. So love is a little like pulling porcupine quills from the dogs who have dashed off into the night, bloodlust rising in their throats, return to the back porch, into the pool of light at the door to the kitchen, their muzzles and paws bristling with quills, clawing and biting to pull them out. You gather them in, though they will not quiet in their desperate state, bleeding and in pain. So you get to work with the pliers and your partner, and you take turns holding and pulling, petting and reassuring. Right there, dear, and you're a good dog. And it goes back and forth like that for over 3 hours as we all grow weary and sometimes impatient. The dogs won't let you touch the paws with the quills stuck between the pads, but you must, so you soothe, gain trust, then quickly yank a few more, and finally, exhausted, you finish, except the broken quill sticking out of the muzzle of the lead dog, who should know better, and to her credit, she was the first to back off. The brown-eyed, blue-eyed wheel dog, the one who would pull all day, the kind of dog who would die in harness if you let him. He, of course, had more that were harder to get to and would limp for days afterwards. And at last, the two of them lie quiet on the rug, sleeping, and the two of you look at each other and say, "We did it," and high-fiving, put away the pliers and go off to bed, because it is the middle of the night, and you're sorry this happened, but glad everything turned out all right.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to hear you again after, I don't know, 5 or so years, 8
Yeah.
years when you were last at HCAM Studios. So thank you.
Yes.
Now we go to Michael.
While my father strutted ghost-like on the broad ramparts of his life, his greatest truths lurked in dark corners. The more he thought he knew what was around, the more reality scurried along the edges, quick, furtive things he could only guess at. In his last days, my father saw farmers move in weird dances where only corn shocks stood. He dodged imaginary slaps and cars that never came down the street. He talked to people across the room as if they came from different worlds. I walk into the VA hospital every Monday and stare my future in the face. Ashy old men shuffle past in frayed plaid robes, cigarettes burning down to yellowed knuckles. They mumble meaningless conversations with absent passers-by in vacant hallways. Someday, I'm going to be a shambling phantom in an unfurnished future. I fear the loss of fire, but the nurses tell me that drugged in alcohol, these men never felt the rage to dare life's tightropes. I watch. I'm in. Yeah, there I am. I lost my line. Okay, how did I come to this? Standing naked at the end in front of my grave, wondering how did I come to this? My father echoed his father. It's not the growing old that bothers me, it's the falling apart that goes with it. They both broke down like old factories, their machinery chalked and shimmed to tolerances no caulking could pad, their dynamos gone eccentric, powering down. their very foundations shattered by vibrations. Dust and gunks clogged the sump pumps and the ventilators till their tattered roofs collapsed, their doors flapped in least wind, and they were defenseless against the rain. This is not a sympathy plea. You will understand that when it happens to you. I only come out on days when I feel all right. I stay home when my blood feels like oatmeal, my lungs like wet sponges, my head like the clouds east of some industrial town. On days like that, it's enough to make a man scrape together transit fare and step in front of the train. But the tough old guys go for the good days as long as they can, even though they see the world through weepy eyes, resent their limbs for their fundamental unyielding awkwardness, hate their teeth because they will outlast them. There's no shame in growing old, but don't you young people try to tell us how hard life is. We may hear a certain world weariness in your voices. We feel it deep in our bones. This is birthday stuff. I had a birthday last month, so.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. Actually, it is a happy birthday feeling because I have discovered up here in Maine at the breakfast cafe where I was going to breakfast regularly with a bunch of young men my age, that I learned not to talk about my numbers. You know, everybody's got their numbers for their blood sugar and for this and for that and so on. And I found out that my numbers were better than theirs and I was older than they were. And so I had to be careful about that. When I'm giving a reading, I guess we can't do it here, but at readings, usually I offer people a copy of my latest book if they can guess my age within 5 years. I never have to give any books away. I turned 80 last month, so I'm managing. In my earliest memories, my mother's wash stick rattled up my back while I twisted in her other hand held high. We've settled how her bike stalled and she found me soundless, my ankle mangled in the spokes. Now that she's finally gone, it's her last heroic days I remember. Discovering a tumor is stumbling on a fissioning mass of disorderly cells. We deploy masters of war, we deploy masters of war, train every weapon on a target, and send painful patrols to bayonet the bad cells. She had a stroke on the table, and like a good gunnery crew, they held her in place and kept her pumping. But she had to sell the house, and she sat through the auction, her silver hair a halo, her hawk-like eyes bright, while 3 grandsons held up pieces of a productive life until the auctioneer got his price. The surgeons prepared her for that. Then she chose charity bingo in a train station, living in a sea of white hair above pale blue, eyeglasses reflecting refectory light, talking of all children as though they were 7 years old, and shuffling on tough gray carpet past vague oil paintings in pinks and yellows through a wide doorway into a tiled room with a broad window above an empty parking lot. Her beige cell was an echo chamber for a television aimed at a padded chair set diagonally in a far corner. The second tumor was a bullet wound. She fought death for an organ while terror and loneliness carved their faces into withering bone, and then she went to live with my brother so as not to die in fields of stone. And she endured the small indignities like the lift and wipe off the booster toilet seat. When I held her up and she put her arms around me, I told her, "We're dancing." I remember her teaching second graders eye to eye, her athletic grace on water skis, the basketball court, the golf course. And now, or then, we were dancing in a short, dark hallway with only a lighted door at the end. Now that all the televisions are unlistenable and the phone no longer rings, only two sounds matter. It was breathing, someone calling her name. That was me.
Very powerful.
We went to a lecture at a place called the Jackson Labs, which are in Bar Harbor down here. And this was what, 4 years ago, something like that. They had a lecture on pandemics. Well, sooner or later.
Yeah.
Plenty of water, adequate food, wood, lamp oil, more wood, first aid, know all the neighbors, keep the guns clean. We have planned how we can store a body until we bury it. Fire would be worst, no way to stop it if it gets in the house. An alternate cache could help us though. Staring into a wood stove, I wonder, could I eat the dog? Aquinas wrote, thought makes action possible. I read about people pulling through the siege of Leningrad with family survival because one worked at a tannery and brought leather scraps home to eat. Fawns die in the deer yards. Will we feed the crows and coyotes or feed like them? I repeat what I learned. Know the animal trails, where the birds roost. A snowshoe hare will circle back to where you flushed it. You can make a shelter of evergreen boughs and sleep under heavy branches. It's hard, but you can do it if you have to. And this is the one I wanted to squeeze in. This is a companion kind of to the porcupine poem. I have a kind of obscure reputation of being a mentor to the Highway Poets Motorcycle Club. And so this is for Peddler Bridges, who is one of the leaders of that group. And it's called The Dog and Harley Show. The dog turned 3 times and curled in the dirt under the Harley, his tail tucked in like a rhyme. The blank page of day before us, we went away to spend our time like guests at desks. Return to find him where he was until night when he lifts himself on his front paws, raises his head, and sings strange, adventuresome poems to the moon. A poet's dog, like a poet's bike, rarely moves and lies about where it has been. And I think we're about out of time for us. We got a minute and a half or two for a question.
You're better than I am at time management. Yes, you're. Yeah, we have about 2 minutes or so. Very good.
When you run a reading where it depends on time.
Right. Well, thank you for being mindful of that. And any, I know folks can learn more about you from Resolute Bear Press. You have a website.
Yes.
So that is the main form of communication. Does your own writing get posted there as well?
Yes.
Not on Resolute Bear Press.
Not on Resolute, no, on our own.
Yeah.
Our own websites.
Yes.
Okay. And you have separate websites?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So folks can know to go to those 3 websites to learn more from you.
Right.
And do you have anything going on around you up there? And you do so much for the communities all over in different locations. Is there, you mentioned the bikers group of poets there. Are there any readings going on where you are?
Actually, what we have going on through Resolute Bear Press is we published this year a book by a Passamaquoddy poet who lives down in southern Maine. And we have coming up, we have coming up.
Yes.
A book that should come out in the fall, which will be
Summer.
summer.
Summer, yes.
We should come out in summer. It's tales by Passamaquoddy Indian people up here that go back starting in the 19th century and coming up into the 20th.
Yes.
And we're the publishers of that.
Yep.
So
Wonderful.
that,
And it's Bear, Coyote, Raven. is
yes.
the title
It's
of that
Bear,
particular.
Coyote, Raven, yes.
That's Jason's book.
Yeah, that's the
We
one.
just published. Let me put that out there.
Jason Grandstrom Whitney.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And the one that's coming out this summer is the title is Stories Our Grandmothers Told Us.
That's right. Well, very exciting. So these are 3 publications
Yes.
already with your new press.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, I look forward to reading those publications and looking out more for you and what's going on where you are. And I thank you so much for being here tonight. And I wish you good days. Take care where you are.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye.
So this is the second half of our program for Friday Night Wake Up Call. And in a moment, we will have Aaron Waldman joining us as a singer-songwriter contribution to our program. And looks like Aaron has joined us. And
Yep.
I'll just tell you a little bit about him as he's arriving on scene at Zoom. Aaron is a Maine native. So we both features tonight have connections to Maine. Oh, there you are, Aaron. Hi.
Well, it's working now.
It looks like it's working. Yes. Nice to meet you through Zoom. Yes. And so can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we're good. I was just telling folks, viewers, about you a little bit. And that you, Aaron, are a singer-songwriter. And as your bio says, wrote that you have emerged from the Brooklyn underground music scene by means of your former band friends.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the one.
Which is a theatrical funk punk band with James Beer. And there you had a sizable cult following and headlined at venues like Rough Trade and Mercury Lounge. And when the band broke up, Aaron focused on solo compositions, and that's what you're here for tonight, to share some of those. And in hearing some on the internet, I was really captivated by Aaron's words and his musical style presentation. And it is identified as blending indie rock, psychedelia, and some theatrical antics as well when you're in performance.
Yeah.
And you've been performing on the East Coast. You started solo performances a year ago?
Something to that effect. Yeah.
Yeah. And in 2020, which wasn't that long ago, you were awarded a residency with the Knitting Factory in Brooklyn for entertainment music performances.
Yeah. It feels like a lot longer ago, but that was just 2 months back that we did the last show there.
Yeah. And so that hosts a number of different concert type events in different settings.
Yeah, it was the same venue. It was a monthly residency. Performed with the full band and had a great time with it. Met some really cool people and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully that can be on hold and then resume whenever we join the world back together again. But I wonder, how is it going? Where are you in New York currently, or?
No, I saw the writing on the walls, and I came to Maine about I guess early March.
All right. So how about that? Our former features are from Maine, down East area.
Oh, cool.
I just tuned in from as well. How is it going for you as, having just gotten started as a solo performer, and we have this time now that is in a way surreal, very different from our former lives. And how is that for you creatively and otherwise for daily life?
It's been really good. I haven't really had an urge to be out there hanging with people too much. In New York, I was a total socialite. I'd be out every night, sometimes 2 or 3 times a night. And it's been nice coming here. I've just been doing a lot of recording. I will be putting out some singles by the end of the summer. So it's just been a chance to really focus on the craft a bit, which is nice.
That's terrific. Because I am a fan, just learning about you a short while ago, and seeing the songs that you do have on the internet. And have you done any on rooftops in Maine while you're there, while you're recording?
No, I've been pretty much just holed up in my room. I haven't been
Yeah.
sharing anything. I've been off of most social medias, and yeah, really just focusing on the craft for a bit before I plunge back into the full.
That's great. I know when I was seeing you performing on a roof in Brooklyn, probably, how much that resonated in a way with where we are now, where you're performing in solitude in a way there, but your songs to me would seem to resonate beyond for many people to hear and benefit from. So could you share a few songs with us now, and anything else you would like to say as you're going? As we had discussed, if you'd like to take over for the remainder of time and share your songs and any stories or introduction. If I need to, I'll ask something, but I'd rather leave it up to you, and so folks can hear as many songs as possible.
Cool. Well, let's do it. And if there's an issue with the guitar and the microphone balance, just let me know, because I can change that pretty easily.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Also, hey everyone, my name's Aaron Waldman. This is the first song I wrote, and I wrote it when I was 18 years old, living not too far from where I'm at right now in southern Maine. La 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 la, hanging around in some basement downtown, wasting away in our old hunting grounds. Down on your back porch, out by the laundromat doors, we'll be up till the horizons kiss the shore. 'Cause you and I get by, always reckless and alive, waiting around so patiently as time flies by, sitting here pretending, acting like folk rock isn't dead. You know, it's days like these that make me glad to be your friend. Glad to be your friend. I'm so glad to be a friend. I'm losing it each time that I meet you eye to eye, laying on the beach as we tally up every cloud in the sky, and we sprawl across the grass, waiting for that buzz to pass so that you can fall back into your dream. 'Cause you and I get by, always reckless and alive, waiting around so patiently as time flies by, sitting there pretending, acting like folk rock isn't dead. You know, it's days like these that make me glad to be a friend. Glad to be a friend. I'm so glad to be a friend. Oh, la, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. How are we doing on
You
the
have a
polls?
friend there.
Yes. So my friend Max is down with her daughter Lunetta. Lunetta is 20 months old, and she is learning sign language already. So she is very communicative. It's really it's been pretty fascinating to me getting to watch all that. Was the whistling sounded okay? It wasn't clipping the microphone?
The audio is awesome.
The audio's okay. Thank you so much. What's your name?
That's Jim. That's Jim Cousins.
I'm Jim, the guy behind the scenes.
Oh, awesome. Okay, well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that, man.
It's awesome.
Got quite a lot of Z's in your name too. That's pretty awesome. Let's see. I usually play this one next because it makes me count to 4, so it's a good starter. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There's ghosts in the hallways and clocks in the walls, tallying the hours as they pass. A piece of my heart dropped off in the dark, and I'm naive enough to ask for it back. Maybe I'll buy a ticket to Portland or pay for your flight to LA. We'll let the sand run through our hands and fight to keep the silence at bay. It's a beautiful day for driving away from a girl with an ankle tattoo. Her playlist can drown out your past and the sounds of the last words that she spoke to you. So for the listeners here, I know I might appear younger, but I am 28 years old. Well, I guess with this camera, it's probably tough to estimate much about anything about me. But it's been about 10 years since I went through a breakup, so this song is more of a hypothetical idea of what a breakup might feel like, I suppose. I know that I should never reply, but this morning I did. I woke up to see your name on a screen with the message you texted. We've been through so much this past decade. It's freezing outside, and just like old times, you're 10 minutes late. We huddle inside of a tubular slide on the edge of the playground, where we kissed when you turned 24. And I struggle to see it as more than a place and a time, a mistake I should try to make up for. We wander the streets like a pair of deadbeats, embodying bliss, ignoring the crows with full frontal lobes, eyeing your necklace. Past the blocked up bars we once adored. And I struggle to see them as more than the places and times and mistakes I should try to make up for. word you can't say will tear us away again and again. It was a dream that we were naive enough to believe in. Brooklyn was so cool 10 years ago. But how the hell could we know the faith that we had would be gone in a flash when we'd grown? And I'd struggle to see it as more than a place and a time, a mistake I should try to make up for.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Jim.
How long have you been writing songs?
I guess it's been about 10 years now.
Yeah, and were you writing poetry also? Your lyrics are very poetic, and that you have a lot of imagery, very visual at times, and as well as lyrical.
Thanks. Yeah, I write a lot. I think writing is more natural for me than music, writing words. My father was a librarian until he retired, so I read a lot growing up. All of the young adult books, I got them first. I got the Harry Potter books a week early.
That's an advantage.
Yeah, it was very cool. I always say it was my dad's biggest cool dad moment. Anyway, I don't always talk a lot about my songs because I do feel that if I have to use words to explain my other words, maybe I should have chosen my words more carefully. But this song is very special because it was very natural to write. It really all came together in less than a minute when I was working at a deli in New York. Kind of goes like a 1, 2, 3. Rye bread, when you put it in the toaster, you get dry bread. When you drop it on the floor, you start to cry. Bread is my favorite, give it to me now, it's my bread. Thanks. It's tough telling the funny ones when you don't know if people enjoyed the jokes or not.
Well, thank you.
This is the joke I always tell every set is, do you know why you've never seen hippos hiding in trees?
No, why?
Thanks, Cheryl. Because they're really, really good at it.
Yes.
Usually get the strong 50% approval rate. Anyway, this is a song I've been recording recently. I wrote it a couple weeks ago. You were the wildest party I ever threw for myself. I can't forget the way that your body felt, or the weekends when your parents would travel in Spain. You wore a mini skirt with no underwear, bit me on the chest as I tugged on your hair. I pinned you to the bed till you started to scream my name. Well, Jane, you never owed me the time of day. Good men don't leave home for New York City anyway. Now the beaches by your place feel like foreign shores. The girls look like girls who aren't girls anymore, and the boys are spouting off with 16's tired cliches. They make me think about the songs that I wrote for you. You memorize the words which you never knew, all the voices for the chords, or how natural they felt to play. Well, Jane, you never owed me the time of day. Good men don't leave home for New York City anyway. Jane, you never owed me the time of day. Good men don't leave home to New York City anyway. Beats of strength, the acid test. I promise, Jane, I won't forget. You'll kneel over me again, inside your bedroom in my head. Happiness beguiles my sense, leaving my soul in peace and quiet. You'll kneel over me again inside the bedroom in my head. Well, Jane, you never owed me the time of day. Good men don't leave home for New York City anyway. So Jane, you never owed me the time of day. Good men don't leave home for New York City anyway.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Sharon.
I see we have 10 minutes to go, just to let you know.
I think
So I'm going to be as quiet as possible to hear some more from you.
cool. 2 more you want? Cool. Sounds good to me. This is a song I wrote for my mom. It's usually the downer of the set. It's called Hospice. I lifted your body up with a clock today. Now I'm watching you sleeping, watching as you struggle to breathe. Your eyes that used to smile shine vacantly. I just wanna believe in you like you believed in me. Driving you down to the home was a nightmare coming true. I buried a song in the last playlist I made for you. You whispered the words in a voice cracked and out of key. I just wanna believe in you like you believed in me. I'm outside the hospice room, trying to write your last song. You're with us tonight, but I know that you won't be for long. And if the words exist at all, they're beyond my reach. I just wanna believe in you like you believed in me. I just wanna believe in you like you believed in me.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, Cheryl, thank you for having me. I just got one more song, and I got, what, 5 more minutes or something?
Yes, you do. And that was the first song I heard of you, and I was so moved by it. It's of beauty and grief, and it's very powerful. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks, Cheryl. That one will be one of the singles I'm releasing in a couple of months. If anyone would like to keep in touch, I'm at Aaron Waldman Music on Instagram and Facebook. I'm also at aaronwaldmanmusing@gmail.com. If you'd like to send an email and get on the list, I promise I don't spam you. I can't remember the last time I sent out a message, but when I release those songs, I will.
You have a website also.
Oh, and aaronwaldman.com has the info as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm glad someone's on top of all this.
I try. And you might be singing us out. I'm not sure, but I thank you so much for being my very last guest of this program for 14 years, and I am so grateful. So thank you for showing up and being here from Maine.
Oh, well, thanks. It's an honor. And I think if I got 4 minutes, I'll be done right on time. This one's called Punk Songs. I know you're probably getting ready for school and laying out your clothes for the week. Nashville was cool. Now I'm off to Atlanta. Hoped I'd catch you before you got to sleep. The show was sold out and it had nothing to do with me, but it still feels cool to say. Plus a part of me knows that the last words we spoke are the reason you're not answering. Do you ever miss playing punk songs about meaningless things? Getting drunk with our friends, imagining if we all made it together, and none of us ever bought homes in the suburbs with shelves full of records. And are you ever tempted to throw on some of mine? Have the songs that we've written become lullabies? Well, a part of me thinks you were right the whole time. I should have settled and built up a life for myself. Well, I didn't call to tell you that I miss you this time. Only I love you, and I hope that you're fine with whatever you're doing and wherever you are. You never stop growing, but you're never too far from the woman you were when we said our goodbyes. You're still the reason I'm on stage every night, with blood in my lungs, light in my eyes, praying there's more in life to admire than there is to despise. Hey, thanks everyone. Good
All
night.
right. Thank you so much again, Aaron. Take care where you are and look forward to hearing more of your songs on the internet and out beyond.
Oh, thanks, Cheryl. Well, congratulations on a successful run of the program.
All right. And say goodbye to your little friend there, the accompanist.
Good night, Nana.
All right. And good night, everyone.